young men in particular, and hopefully young ladies will start to, get on this line of thinking, hopefully. We'll see. And is that they want a country to grow up in. Quite honestly, we're not going to sit idly by and just allow it to happen. We're going to do everything with our agency and everything in our power to try to make sure that we have a country that is at least half as good as the one that our parents were able to enjoy in the 1970s and 1980s. Because right now we're inheriting a country that is not the same. 4 years ago, if you wanted to buy a home in this country, it took an average income of $59,000 a year to buy a home. Now it requires $109,000 a year. It's probably less than that here in Kansas, but those are national averages. Now, unless you're, going to earn 6 figures out of the gate, which you might, but that'll definitely put you, in the outlier. Being able to own property is a core and fundamental American promise, and they want you to be a renter for the rest of your life. Because if you are a renter, you are easier to control. Owning property, which is embedded in the American dream, makes you a threat to the DC regime. Being able to own acreage in this beautiful state of Kansas, or wherever you're from, and not just be a renter in anonymous urban society, allows you to have stake in the country. Ownership gives you stake in society. And it is becoming harder and harder for your generation to be able to do that. Why? Well, that's where all of a sudden, great, you could talk about, I think you said something about landlords. Great. And, there's some truth. You can get really mad at landlords, or you can get really mad at the politicians that are borrowing trillions of dollars every single year and making your dollar worth less every single year. I mean, landlords, yeah, they kind of get a bad rap, but how are landlords supposed to make money when everything else goes up? You might say, oh, landlords are making too much money. They have to pay property taxes. They have to pay the note. They have to pay off the bank. I mean, somebody has to invest the capital to be able to own the apartment buildings. I mean, they're easy villains. They do overcharge at times. But honestly, DC politicians deserve a lot more blame than your local landlord for why your rent is going up and your inability to buy a home. I believe this is fundamentally intentional. You might say, well, Charlie, who could be so sinister and so evil to do such a thing? Somebody who doesn't love the country. And you can come to your own motivations, but understand, stop trying to defend Washington, D.C. politicians that have never done right by you. They take advantage of you. They steal and plunder from your future because they've never actually cared about your well-being. You can either be grateful that you live in America or you can be ungrateful. It really is that simple. And there are a lot of problems, and you should be very angry at your politicians. However, being bitter about the United States of America as a country is a lot different than being dissatisfied with the current state of the government. Those are two completely different things. We want to restore the promise of this country. And the promise is super simple, that regardless of skin color or background, if you work hard and play by the rules, you save money, get married, have kids, don't break the law, you're going to have a better life year over year, absent some sort of crazy thing happening to you. That promise is being broken. The average American family has like $1,000 in their bank account or less for emergencies. Average credit card debt has now surpassed $1 trillion. Many of you probably have tens of thousands of dollars of student loan debt as things continually get more and more expensive. It does not have to be this way, and it can change.
I just want to say first, thank you for debating and coming to UCR. And my main question is, all of us, I don't want to speak for everybody, but most of us here believe in the American dream, and one of the core aspects of the American dream is a meritocracy. Am I right in saying that? And so one of the true fundamental points of a true meritocracy is equal opportunity for people. Is there aspects of...
No, it's not.
Why do you say that?
Well, because that will never be achieved. It could be a goal, but it will never be reality. For example, do you and I have equal opportunity to play in the NBA as LeBron James?
No.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. It's
Yeah.
never going to happen.
I'm talking about some people who have the abilities. Like, for example, I'm going to use the SAT as an example. Like, let's say 2 people took the SAT at the same, a practice SAT at the same day. One person scored 100 points higher than the other person. But that same person who scored 100 points higher doesn't have the same resources to maintain studying while the other person has the resources. Is there any way you propose that both people have the equal opportunity? Because in theoretical, a meritocracy says the person with 100 points higher at the start will eventually be at a higher position.
The only solution would be an IQ test, and the left hates IQ tests. IQ tests are a great way to bring back true meritocracy because IQ tests are study and preparation agnostic. So, are you familiar with an intelligent quotient test?
Yeah. And
but they don't like it because the left says they're racist because, I mean, you can read Charles Murray's bell curve why they don't like it.
Yeah,
But would you agree we should bring back IQ tests?
I believe in the IQ tests have validity, but I don't think it should be the defining factor.
Okay, I mean, then you don't believe in a meritocracy.
But the thing is, an IQ test has specific types of intelligence which is being tested. People have different types of intelligence which are more suited for different professions.
Yes, I agree. And certain companies should, again, what companies got away from IQ tests like 20 years ago because they were all called racist, but fair enough. I think IQ tests are a great way to cut through preparation. And I will even acknowledge that if you could pay for a really good tutor and get it higher, we took the ACT where I'm from, the Midwest, we didn't take the SAT, but you could get a higher ACT score with proper preparation and if you spend money on it. I totally acknowledge that.
Yeah, so the thing is, I've always been brought up with the idea that a meritocracy will bring me my American dream. And outside of an IQ test, if the left is so against it, would you propose or would you suggest any other ways that we can theoretically do it without still being true to the meritocracy that brings the American dream what it is?
I can't think of one. I'm looking for it, but I mean, again, I think an IQ test is a great colorblind, preparation agnostic way to find out people that have the acumen to be able to do the task.
And when we go to the IQ test, would you suggest that there's different types of IQ tests for different
Sure. I mean, of course, there's variety, but the generally agreed upon IQ test that was developed in the late 80s is pretty good.
Okay, that was my question.
Great question. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. America is the greatest country in the history of the world, right? Cool. Very good. So we talked a lot about this, and I'm going to detail why. America is the greatest country in the history of the world. First and foremost, it was the first country ever to be founded on an idea, not on a racial background, not on ethnocentrism, not on any sort of lineage, but an idea very simple. An idea that we do not get our rights from government, but we get our rights naturally, whether it be from a creator or from God or from some supernatural being. So America is the greatest country in the world for a couple reasons. Number one, our diversity, I'll talk about that, our economic power, our generosity, and our upward mobility. Let's go one by one. Our diversity. You know, I talk a lot about this, and people say, Charlie, America is an institutionally racist country. And I respond, yes, we absolutely have a history of racism in this country that's bitter, and we need to fight it every single term. We need to fight it when we see it in the streets. We need to fight it when we see it on TV. Totally agree with that. But I would make a compelling argument that America is actually the least racist country in the world. We're the most ethnically diverse, religiously diverse country in the world. We take more immigrants into our country on a multiple than any other country around the world. The next closest country that takes anywhere near as many immigrants just recently would be Germany, France, Spain, and some of the Western democracies in Europe. Now, you talk some statistics about it. America for the last 150 years has been a country that has embraced not any sort of national state-run religion, not sort of any sort of central ideology, but an idea that you can come here with nothing and you can take risks and you can succeed. So it's because of our diversity. And only in this country, so someone want to name another country where you have leaders in government, in culture, in business that are Asian Americans, African Americans, Jewish, Hindu, Muslim, atheist. No other country has that sort of viewpoint diversity. No other country has that sort of religious diversity. And that is something that should be applauded. But it's not just racial diversity, not just ethnic diversity, but it's also ideological diversity. In this country, we've always had very vocal debates over political differences, over differences of how to solve ideas. We're an incredibly ideologically diverse country and a geographically diverse country, too. Whether people in Texas don't always agree with people in New York and California, for some reasons, some bad reasons. So the second one is our economic strength. No other country in the history of the world has been able to deliver the economic output of the United States of America in such a short period of time. And I would argue it's mostly because of our embracing of free enterprise principles and our rejection of socialist ideas. So since our inception in 1776, the same year that Adam Smith wrote The Inquiry into the Wealth of Nations, we have seen one of the greatest success stories of economics, the greatest success stories of economics in human history. We have seen more people lifted out of poverty, the greatest standard of living increase known to man, and basically every country that's ever succeeded, even marginally, has copied our policies of individual property rights, individual initiative, free enterprise, so on and so forth. We have 5% of the world's population here in this country, 5% of the world's population, yet we create over 65% of the world's wealth. We have 75 out of 100 of the world's most valuable companies, and we have the greatest economic output of any engine. As the expression goes, the world goes as America goes, and that's because we have created the largest economic engine. It's not because we have the social programs or because we distribute the most amount of goods and services. The reason, not because of our population either. India has 1 billion people, has 1.3 billion people. China has 1 billion people. We have double the GDP of China. Russia has more natural resources than America. The reason America's the greatest economic country in the history of the world is because still to this day, we're losing it a little bit, we embrace free enterprise. We embrace the idea that you can come here with nothing, and in a short period of time, you can work your way up the ladder, what is called the American dream. Some people will disagree with that, but I believe the American dream should be protected. You can come here with nothing, risk everything, and create an amazing amount of wealth for yourself and other people in return. The third reason why America is the greatest country in the history of the world is generosity. And I'm going to break generosity into 2 different components. Generosity domestically and generosity internationally. So America, by far, is the most generous country in the history of the world by how we give just donations to international relief organizations, how we give to churches, to synagogues, to mosques, to local hospitals. Voluntarily last year, America gave over $580 billion voluntarily to charity. To put that in perspective, that's the GDP of about 13 African countries combined that people gave voluntarily to charity last year. We are by far, per capita, the most willing to give away our own resources, time, energy, and money away to causes that we believe in. We're by far the most economically generous. But we're also generous in another way that I think gets widely misrepresented on college campuses and gets widely misrepresented by the media. We're also generous and we step up when the world is in need. A great example is the Korean War. The Korean War, you saw the march of totalitarian communism on the Korean Peninsula. Only but the United States sent our own men and women to die. 50,000 Americans died for the creation of a free society known as South Korea. If it wasn't for our ability to intervene on the Korean Peninsula, we would not have seen a free society such as South Korea be created versus a totalitarian state of North Korea. The final reason why America is the greatest country in the history of the world is upward mobility. We still have what I believe is a meritocracy. If you make good decisions in this country, you are almost guaranteed, almost statistically guaranteed to stay out of institutional and perpetual poverty. Not every country can brag this. The 3 things are this: graduate from high school, get married before you have kids, and get a job. You do those 3 things, you're almost assured to stay out of perpetual and institutional poverty in this country. So essentially, we still are a country that embraces this idea of making good choices. That also means that, yeah, if you make bad choices, you're going to live not as good a life. But thankfully, thanks to what I mentioned earlier, being the most generous country in the history of the world, we have the most diverse and deep charitable network to help people that really are at need, whether it be churches, mosques, synagogues, and local community organizations. We are still an upwardly mobile society. I'm afraid we're losing part of that. But there is a reason why there are hundreds of millions of applications to come into this country. There's a reason for that. It's because people around the world still look to America as what Ronald Reagan called the city on the hill, as the last beacon, the last great hope for freedom in this world. And you know what? Some people don't embrace that. Some people say, I think we should be more egalitarian. We should be more equal. We'll have a conversation about that. If that's the most important thing in the world, there's other countries that embrace that model, I would say rather unsuccessfully. But this country is about being able to start with nothing, achieve your dreams. Don't throw rocks at the top of the building, fix the elevator. Being socially and economically mobile is what makes this country unique and great.